Attention seniors, your refrigerator may be harming your health in the process of destroying the nutrients, flavor, and texture of your favorite meals. 9 foods you should never keep in the refrigerator are revealed in this important video, and some of them will shock you. Why is this important for seniors in particular? Because as we get older, our sense of taste changes, and eating right becomes even more important. Foodborne illness, bland meals, and wasted money may happen from wrong storage. We will guide you over how to store each item for the best safety and freshness. After learning these shocking truths, your next visit to the freezer will never be the same. 1. Tomatoes. That salad tomatoes seem disappointing and mealy. It could be the refrigerator. Tropical fruits like tomatoes really lose their unique taste and juicy flavor when stored in freezers. What happens at level of cell looks like. Access to refrigerator temperatures below 50 degrees destroys tomatoes' weak cell membranes, causing them to break down too quickly. This procedure destroys the volatile substances that give tomatoes their special flavor, especially the sugars and acids that give them a perfect balance of sweetness and tartness. According to a University of Florida study, tomatoes stored in a refrigerator lose 65% of their flavor-producing chemicals in just 3 days compared to those maintained at room temperature. The texture also reduces, as pectin, the natural ingredient that gives tomatoes their firmness, degrades due to the same cell damage. The flesh becomes grainy and mealy. This explains why sliced tomatoes from the refrigerator frequently seem slightly crumbly or dry. Even worse, once tomatoes are picked, they cannot continue to develop their full flavor potential in cold storage. Once cooled, tomatoes stop to produce taste parts, compared to some other fruits that get better right off the vine. For the best possible flavor and consistency, tomatoes should be stored stem side down at room temperature, should be between 55 and 70 degrees. Never use plastic bags. Instead, keep them in a single layer in a bowl or basket. For maximum flavor, use within 3 to 5 days. Refrigerate only if very fresh, and you need to prevent spoiling for a few more days. An exception, cherry tomatoes can deal with a little lower temperature, but they still taste better without it. Remember this the next time you are tempted to put your tomatoes in the refrigerator. The clear, fresh flavor you enjoy disappears as soon as they get cold. You will be grateful you keep your BLTs, salads, and sauces on the counter where they belong. Professional advice. Avoid keeping tomatoes close to onions or bananas since the ethylene gas they release accelerates the over-ripening process. 2. Potatoes. When a roasted potato is bitten into and found to be strangely sweet and gritty rather than fluffy and delicious, few kitchen mistakes are as disappointing as it. One mistake is frequently the cause of this culinary disappointment: freezing potatoes. Cold-induced sweetening is the process by which the cold temperatures in the refrigerator cause a biological response that turns the carbohydrates in potatoes into sugars. Not only does this change their flavor, but it also destroys their texture and can even cause health risks. The science behind why this happens is equally. As living organisms, potatoes contain enzymes that, in the presence of cold, convert starch to glucose, a survival mechanism to prevent freezing damage. These enzymes activate in completely at refrigerator temperatures below 45 degrees, loading the potato with in excess sugars. This explains why cooked potatoes from the freezer frequently have a strong, gritty texture and an unpleasant sweetness. Even worse, when these added sugars are heated during frying or roasting, they increase the amount of acrylamide, a potentially dangerous substance that has been connected in studies on animals to an increased chance of cancer. There are more deaths beyond flavor and texture. Additionally, refrigeration enhances the accumulation of moisture, which promotes spoiling and supports the formation of mold. This is made worse by the moist environment inside plastic bags, which is a common storage problem. This retains moisture, which speeds up rotting or premature sprouting. Consider these storing suggestions to ensure that your potatoes remain perfect store them in a cool, dark pantry, preferably between 45 and 55 degrees Celsius. A dark kitchen shelf is sufficient, but a basement or cellar is best. Using a paper bag or an open mesh bag allows air to circulate while preventing the accumulation of moisture. Keep potatoes away from onions at all times. Onions produce gases that accelerate potato deterioration. Check regularly. To stop spoiling from spreading, remove all potatoes that are sprouting or soft. There is still hope if you have accidentally refrigerated potatoes. Allow them to sit at room temperature for a few days. This will improve their feel since some of the sugars may turn back into starch. However, stay away from the refrigerator completely for best results. Potatoes can be stored for weeks in a dark, dry spot and still retain their perfect starchy texture for baking, mashing, or frying until they are brown. Bonus tip: store unwashed potatoes in a garage or bottom cellar with adequate airflow, above freezing but below 50 degrees Celsius, if you need, to significantly increase their shelf life. 3. Onions. Reaching for an onion only to find it limp, rotten, or sprouted too quickly is one of the most frustrating cooking experiences. Wrong storage is frequently the cause of this prevalent issue. While it may seem reasonable to store onions in the refrigerator, the cold, damp conditions actually increase their decline. Discover how to keep your onions fresh and firm for months by understanding what happens on a scientific level. Onions are perfect for long-term storage, but only under the proper conditions. Their papery outer shells absorb moisture when exposed to refrigerator dampness, which promotes the growth of bacteria and mildew. Also, the freezing temperature activates enzymes to convert their starch stores into sugars, leading to mushy, soft textures and an extremely sweet flavor that overpowers savory foods. Even worse, the gas ethylene, a natural ripening agent, gets stuck in plastic bags and crisper drawers because of a lack of circulation, which causes onions to grow earlier than they normally can. The storage solution is simple but intended. A fridge, cellar, or garage shelf would be perfect for keeping them cool, 45 to 55 degrees Celsius. Dry and dark. To ensure maximum airflow, store them in mesh bags, woven baskets, or even pantyhose. A grandmother's method. Avoid using plastic bags. Potatoes should be avoided because trapped moisture causes them to break down quickly. While potatoes create humidity that damages onions, onions release gases and moisture that accelerate the rotting of potatoes. Special situations call for minor modifications. Under ideal conditions, whole onions can last for between 2 and 3 months. Cut onions should be stored in the refrigerator in an airtight container for no more than 4 days. Like flowers, spring onions and scallions grown develop in a glass filled with 1 of water. An interesting historical fact is that, before refrigeration, onions were stored in root cellars in braided strands, which allowed for perfect air circulation. To replicate this, wrap onion tops with twine and hang them in a place that is dry and shaded. Remember, you can still use the onion if you notice green sprouts. Just cut off the bitter green center. Food safety comes first. Accordingly, take it out if it is soft, discolored, or smells bad. You can always keep firm, tasty onions on hand to enhance your food if you store them properly. Pro tip: store peeled whole onions in sealed bags for up to 6 months. They freeze surprisingly well. For cooking. 4. Bread. That disappointing moment when you reach for bread for a lunch and find it has gone stale and dry overnight. Maybe the reason is your fridge. While it makes sense that bread would be preserved by cool temperatures, a process known as retrogradation. In as little as 6 hours, the starch molecules in bread quickly recrystallize, squeezing out moisture and giving it that disappointing crumbly looks. According to a research in the Journal of Food Science, bread stored in the refrigerator matures 6 times longer than bread kept at room temperature. The science behind this is fascinating. Water and starch molecules combine to give bread its softness. When the connections are broken by refrigeration, Liquid moves from the starch to other areas of the bread, leaving it dry and tasteless. Even worse, as the starch structure breaks down, the cool, watery environment of the refrigerator encourages the growth of mold, which could cause your bread to become moldy and stale more quickly. For the maximum freshness, keep it in a paper bag or bread box at room temperature for 2 to 3 days. Freeze for longer storage, up to 3 months. To make toasting easier, slice first. To revive stale bread, sprinkle it with water and reheat it for 5 to 10 minutes at 350 degrees. The exception? Hot and steamy environments where mold grows quickly. Freezing is still recommended to refrigeration in certain situations. Do not store that bread in the refrigerator. Your toast and sandwiches deserves better. Pro advice: while a crust naturally prevents staleness, handmade breads keep better when kept cut side down on a wooden board. 5. Honey. Surprisingly, is that jar of crystallized, hardened honey in your refrigerator annoying? But it also goes against one of nature's most amazing preservation processes. Researchers have discovered edible honey in ancient Egyptian tombs, proving that honey is the only food that, when stored properly, does not become worse. When honey is stored in the fridge, its natural chemistry is frustrated, changing what should be a smooth, sweet honey into a difficult to work with, hard confusion. At the level of the molecular, something like this happens. As honey contains more sugar than a liquid can usually hold, it is a supersaturated sugar solution. The natural crystallization process is accelerated by cold temperatures because they cause glucose molecules to separate from water and form into crystals. While all pure honey will ultimately crystallize, a natural process that has no effect on quality, freezing increases this process 10 times, sometimes even overnight. The results? Instead of enjoying the simple, pourable quality of honey, you have to work hard to get it out. More significantly, honey can be stored without refrigeration at all. 3 basic characteristics of honey give it a magical durability. Low moisture content. Bacteria are attracted to it by its high sugar content. Acidic, pH 3 to 4.5, making the environment cold for bacteria. Enzymes in raw. Honey naturally create hydrogen peroxide. For perfect honey that maintains its smooth texture, keep in a dark closet at room temperature. Should be around 65 to 75 degrees. To avoid moisture absorption, store in an airtight container. If crystal happens, return the jar softly in a water bath, never in a microwave. Pro tip: it is common for uncooked, unprocessed honey to crystallize more quickly than processed honey. In fact, this is a sign of higher quality. To restore the jar to liquid form while maintaining all of its beneficial enzymes and antioxidants, simply place it in warm water. Keep in mind that your honey stays fresh for years without refrigeration. You will always have tasty, useful honey that keeps its quality for years if you store it properly. 6. Garlic. Peeling a garlic clove only to discover it has become rubbery, sprouted, or worse, rotten, is one of the most irritating cooking experiences. This frequent cooking mistake frequently results from a single, decent mistake: putting garlic in the refrigerator. Garlic's particularly strong taste and hard quality are ruined by a sequence of biological processes that have been brought by lower temperatures, with the truth that they may appear to increase its freshness. The science behind what goes wrong looks like. After harvesting, garlic remains its biological activity because it is a living organism. Many negative effects evolve when exposed to refrigerator temperatures and moisture. Cold-induced growing. The cloves prematurely produce bitter green shoots because they believe winter is over and spring has arrived. Mold acceleration. Between papery layers, the wet environment promotes the growth of mold. Loss of shape. As cell walls break down, crunchy cloves becomes uncomfortable rubbery areas. Additionally, garlic's essential allicin compound, the sulfur-containing molecule that, gives it its unique smell and health advantages, is destroyed by cooling. According to a University of California research, garlic kept refrigerated loses up to 60% of its allicin content in just 2 weeks, when compared to bulbs that are maintained properly. To ensure that garlic remains tasty and fresh for months, store whole bulbs in a woven basket or mesh bag, never plastic, and keep them in a dry, dark cabinet with sufficient airflow. Should be around 55 and 65 degrees. Because broken cloves damage more quickly, patiently wait to cut until you are ready to use them. A helpful tip is to cut the garlic clove in half lengthwise and remove the harsh green stalk before cooking. If you notice green sprouts. But do the cloves feel soft or do you notice mold? Garlic that has become old should be thrown out immediately because it may contain harmful mycotoxins. Remember, proper storage is essential for that tasty, strong garlic you enjoy. Keep it dry but not dry, cool but never cold, and, above all, far away from the moisture of your refrigerator. 7. Avocado. There is nothing worse than waiting days for an avocado to mature only to find it has gone from being creamy and delicious to hard and rubbery. A single mistake frequently causes this common cooking loss. Avocados should not be fridged too soon. Avocados, compared to most fruits, have special turning requirements that make it disastrous to store immature avocados in the refrigerator. The science behind why cold temperatures spoil your guacamole thoughts are amazing. As climacteric fruits, avocados continue to mature after being harvested by being around ethylene gas. This natural process is effectively stopped when you refrigerate a fresh avocado. Avocados might never completely soften because cold temperatures below 45 degrees stop the enzymes that break down cell walls and transform starches into creamy fats. Even worse, the cold destroys cell structures, which frequently leads to uneven ripening, with some parts becoming mushy, while others remain stiff. For consistently perfect avocados, keep unused avocados at room temperature, 65 to 75 degrees, close to bananas or apples to quick up ripeness. Check every day by lightly pressing near the base. When fresh, they produce slightly. Only refrigerate fully ripe avocados to slow oxidation for 1 to 2 more days. Store cut avocados with the pit in place and spritz with lemon juice. Tip: overnight ripening of avocados in a paper bag with a banana can be boosted by half because to a concentrated ethylene gas. However, avoid using plastic bags as they retain moisture and promote the growth of mildew. Keep in mind that controlling the temperature properly is essential to achieving that dreamy, sweet quality. Give your avocados a little countertop attention until they are ripe, and then, if necessary, give them a little time in the refrigerator. 8. Coffee. Keeping coffee in the refrigerator is a common storage problem that may be the source of that disappointing moment when your morning coffee tastes stale, flat, or worse, like remains from the night before. While it makes sense that cold temperatures would keep coffee fresh, 3 important elements interfere with your brew's unique flavor profile and cause the opposite impact. The logic behind why coffee does not work well under refrigeration is as follows. Coffee is hygroscopic, which means it easily absorbs moisture and smells from its surroundings. Beans grow with water molecules in the warm environment of the refrigerator, which damages aromatic oils and speeds up staling. Temperature. Variations. The flavor of coffee is further deteriorated by condensation that accumulates on the cold beans each time it is taken out of the refrigerator. Odor contamination. Coffee easily picks up the scents of nearby foods, cheese, onions, etc., resulting in strange flavor combinations in your cup. According to a 2020 study published in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry, coffee stored refrigerated loses 67% more aromatic chemicals in just 1 week over coffee that is kept in the pantry. Even worse, whole bean coffee maintains its freshness for 2 to 4 weeks at whatever storage temperature. Accordingly, the cold does not really increase shelf life. To maintain the subtle flavors of coffee, Use an airtight container, usually with a CO2 valve for recently roasted beans, and keep it in a cool, dark storage space. Should be above 55 and 70 degrees. Buy whole beans and grind only what you need because ground coffee warms 8 times faster. Freeze only when absolutely required. Divide into airtight bags, remove all air, and let them thaw completely before opening. Pro tip: the greatest competitor of coffee is not heat or light, it is oxygen. If you do not finish your beans within 2 weeks, think about buying a vacuum-sealed container. Keep in mind that coffee flavors die in your refrigerator. You can maintain the subtle taste that make every morning worth getting out of bed, like as the chocolatey Colombian depth and the fruity Ethiopian brightness, by keeping your beans in the fridge. Bonus fact: degassing is what gives coffee its freshness. Freshly roasted beans release CO2 for 7 to 14 days. This natural process is upset by refrigeration, which leaves your coffee with unwanted acidic qualities. 9. Basil. That lovely bunch of basil that becomes slimy and black in your refrigerator overnight is not simply bad luck. It is cold damage. Being a tropical herb that is natural to warm regions like India and Thailand, reacts to refrigerator temperatures like a human would to sudden Arctic exposure, with shock and rapid deterioration. At the cellular level, this process happens. Basil leaves get their unique blackening and mushiness when their cell membranes burst when they are cooled below 50 degrees. Further, the volatile oils that give basil its unique taste and smell are destroyed by this cooling action. For vibrant basil suitable for a restaurant, treat like cut flowers by trimming the stems and setting them in a glass with 1 inch of water. To maintain humidity without trapping ethylene gas, cover loosely with a plastic bag. To avoid bacterial growth, keep at room temperature and out of direct sunlight. Change the water every 2 days. Pro tip: boil leaves for 3 seconds in boiling water, towel dry, and freeze in cubes of olive oil for long-term storage. This makes them ideal for winter pasta sauces. Keep in mind that your basil likes to grow on the table rather than in your refrigerator. No more wasting herbs. You can enjoy fresh, fragrant basil for up to 2 weeks with this easy way. How might your refrigerator be a food criminal? Some items simply will not relax, from destroying the flavor of tomatoes to making bread a rubbery mess. Your taste buds and your groceries will appreciate it if you stop putting these 9 foods in your fridge. Got a food storage shocker of your own? Leave a comment about it. Remember to forward this to a friend fridge offender. Noon should be left with a depressed wet potato. I hope you found this information helpful. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you found this information helpful. Stay healthy, stay safe, and we'll see you in the next video.